Today we're checking out a giant bin full of T-Rexes, Indominus Rexes, Giganotosauruses, Spinosauruses, and I've even got some brand new ginormous ones that we're gonna open up as well. Let's get started with these Spinosauruses since they're right on the top. This first one is a custom colored Spinosaurus. I think it was originally a Camp Cretaceous version of the Spinosaurus, but now it has even cooler coloring all over its body. And my favorite part are those evil green eyes. Those look so cool. This next Spinosaurus is the original Camp Cretaceous Spinosaurus with the red spine and the red face. It's got the huge front arms and the even bigger back legs and a tail that is adjustable as well. Let's check out some of these biggest T-Rex figures in the bin next. This first one is an orange Battle Damage Edition T-Rex. You can see the slashes all over its body, even on its tail, and some on its face as well. And like many of the classic T-Rex figures, you can use the button on its head to open its jaw. This next T-Rex is a Terran T-Rex. It's got the gray body with the brown top, and the biggest feature is when you press this button on its back, it does a tearing action with its jaw. Check that out. It closes its mouth and it swings its neck away at the same time. Plus there's a second action button on its back to activate the tail, which has 2 joints, which is really cool. And this T-Rex right here is an extreme battle damage T-Rex. It's got some cool coloring all over its body, but the biggest feature is the battle damage that you can activate by pressing the button. Check that out. So you can turn it on and off on both sides of its body. Plus, the rest of its body is fully posable as well. It's got the tiny little arms and the huge back legs. Next up are some huge Indominus Rex figures. This first one is the classic, I believe it's the Camp Cretaceous Indominus Rex. It has 2 action buttons. The first activates its claws, and the second on its tail activates its jaw. Plus there's quite a bit of detailing all over its body as well. Check out all those little bumps and spikes, and those super long spikes right on its neck too. And I love the shading on its face. It's really cool. This next Indominus Rex is custom colored. It is super bright and unlike anything that you might see in the movies. It's got some blue, it's got purple, orange, and black. Still has the same awesome texturing and detailing all over its bodies, and the same action buttons, one to activate the claws, and one to activate the jaws too. And the best part are the lime green eyes. Right over here, we've got an extreme battle damage Indominus Rex. This figure still has the action button on its tail to open and close the jaw. This one has sound effects, but the action button on its back actually activates the battle damage, just like the T-Rex that we saw. That's not working too well right now. There we go, it took a minute, so I think something's a little bit wrong with the internal system, but you can see that there's red that's showing through the battle damage now. Here we've got an older Indominus Rex. I believe this one is from the first Jurassic World movie, so it's quite a bit different. You'll see that the front is entirely rubberized. Even the teeth are made out of rubber. You can use the arm to open and close the jaw. And the rest of its body is a hard plastic, so it's pretty interesting. And you can move the back legs as well. Let's check out these Giganotosaurus figures. This first one is ginormous and it has 2 actions. The first is activated by a button on its back that swings its entire torso around. And there's a button on the bottom of its tail to operate just the jaw alone. Plus this figure has some pretty cool detailing as well. And of course the iconic huge spine going all the way up its back. Before we go any further with the bin, let's check out this huge brand new one. This is the Jurassic World Giga Dinosaur by Imaginext. All right, here is the fully assembled huge Giganotosaurus. This one is a lot larger than many of the figures I have, plus it has some extra features as well. You can move the head up and down, you can twist its neck around, so it's pretty adjustable. Plus, when you roll it back and forth, it actually moves its legs, so it looks like it's stomping. Plus, it has some sound effects too. And the coolest part is that you can press a button on its tail to open up its jaw and light up its eyes too. And in addition to that, you can also pick it up right here and it'll make a huge roaring sound effect. This figure is ginormous and it even comes with this little tiny character too. And next up, we got another Imaginext thrashing Indominus Rex figure. Let's open it up. All right, here's the figure. It's around the same size as many of the Mattel Jurassic World figures, but it looks totally different. It's got some blue spikes on its back. It's got these huge orange eyes as well. And you can actually use the tail on this figure to swivel its head all the way around. It's a really unique movement. Let's check out the rest of the bin. This is a Dinosaurus figure, not made by Mattel. I can't remember the brand that made this one, but it is super detailed and quite a bit different looking compared to Mattel. Check out all those teeth. They're actually even a little bit sharp. It's also got the green eyes as well. You can't move the rest of its body, but it has some pretty amazing detailing and coloring too. Right over here is another Giganotosaurus figure. This one is from Mattel and is the Sound Surge edition. It's got a button on its back right here to activate the sound effects. Next up is another Spinosaurus figure. This one has a darker skin than many of the Spinosaurus figures that I have. Still got the red spine, and you can open and close its mouth too. Here is a model Indominus Rex figure, so it looks quite a bit different than what Mattel has released, but it's still got all the spikes along its back. It's got some evil looking eyes and teeth as well. And of course you can open and close the jaw, but the rest of the body parts cannot move. Up next, we've got an old Jurassic World T-Rex. This one is actually custom colored with the red, the black, and the green underbelly, and there's an action button on its back to open and close its jaw. Over here, we've got the Funko Pop Jurassic World Dominion T-Rex with the brown body, the all black eyes, and all those teeth. Check out this model T-Rex figure. It's got a dark green body with the black striping, so it probably would blend into the jungle pretty well, and it's got tons of teeth. And on this model figure, you can open and close the jaw too. Over here is an old Indominus Rex figure from Jurassic World. It's got the battle damage on the side that you can open and close, and you can use the tail for a chomping action. And this is an even smaller Indominus Rex from Jurassic World, also an older figure. It's got some battle damage on its side. You can't open or close it, but you can still use the tail to open and close the mouth. Here's another model Spinosaurus figure. This one is a lighter color. It's got some gray with black splotches everywhere. You can kind of tell that there is a green stripe right along its spine. And just like the other model figures, you can open and close the mouth. Here is the Rowdy Roars Indominus Rex figure. It's got these super big back legs, the tiny front legs, a little itty bitty tail that actually controls the jaw, and when you press down on the tongue, it snaps its jaw shut. Here is the Funko Pop Jurassic World Dominion Giganotosaurus figure. It has similar coloring as the Mattel figures. It's got some all yellow eyes, huge teeth, and of course the big spine all the way down its back too. Here's an old Jurassic World Spinosaurus figure, and this is actually a special one because it's colored so brightly. It's got the blue and the red with the black striping right along its spine. And you can use the tail to operate the mouth too. Right over here is a basic Spinosaurus figure from Mattel. It's got the green body with the red spine, and you can move the arms and the legs and the tail as well. I've got another Jurassic World Spinosaurus figure. This one is really small, but it's got a bright yellow and orange spine, and you can press down on the head to open and close its mouth. Over here is a tiny T-Rex figure from Jurassic World. It's got the battle damage on its side, and you can use the tail to open and close the mouth. And here is another model Spinosaurus, but I believe this one is a juvenile Spinosaurus because it's a lot smaller and just looks a bit younger, but you can still open and close its jaw. First and largest figure is this super colossal Carnotaurus Toro figure. It has the dark orange body with the brown coloring on top, tons of little spikes, and the huge horns on its head. Next up in size is this super colossal Velociraptor blue figure. This figure features the classic blue stripe down the side and has fully posable arms, legs, and a jaw too. Next up in size is another Velociraptor blue figure, but this one is a bit different. This figure is battery operated, so let's see what happens when we turn it on. That is pretty cool. It blinks and its eyes move, and it even has sound effects. Moving on to the next in size, let's go with this custom colored Spinosaurus figure. This figure features way more intricate and cool coloring than the original Mattel figure featured. It features posable arms, legs, and a tail, and even the neck and the jaw. Let's set this figure down next to the robotic Velociraptor blue figure. Next up, why don't we go with this Terran T-Rex figure. This T-Rex has some of the classic brown and tan coloring, and best of all, it features an awesome tearing feature when you press the button on its back. Look at that jaw chomping action. And we're gonna set this down as the next biggest dinosaur in this carnivore collection. Over here is another Terran T-Rex, but this one was actually custom colored. Let's set them down side by side so we can see the color differences. This one is a lot darker, and it actually has a lot more battle damage painted all over its body. And look at that, even some more battle damage on the other side. That is really cool. Let's set this down next in line. For the next in size, we're gonna go with this camouflage T-Rex figure. This is one of my favorite custom colored dinosaurs because of this really cool green camo color that has all over its body. And this figure has a chomping action when you move its tail, and a roaring action too. This figure is super cool, so let's set this as the next biggest dinosaur. For the next biggest carnivore figure, we're gonna go with this Camp Cretaceous Epic Roarin' T-Rex. This figure has the classic tan body, and it features a button on its tail for a roaring and chomping action. This one is definitely cool, so let's set this down next in size. Looks like we've got a few more T-Rex figures in here. Here is another green T-Rex, but this one isn't custom colored. This is actually how it came. It's got some black detailing along the top of its head, and it has a button on the top of its head for the chomping and roaring action. Plus, its arms and legs and tail and neck are fully posable, just like many of these other T-Rex figures. All right, here might be one of my last T-Rex figures in this carnivore collection. This one is the classic bright orange, and it features opposable arms, legs, tail, neck, and jaw too. Why don't we dig into this one next? This is part of the new Epic Attack series from Jurassic World. This is the battle chomping Carnotaurus. And here it is. It looks like it has 3 different action buttons on this Carnotaurus figure. The first 2 are light and sound effect buttons that you can push for different sounds. So depending on how many times you press these buttons, it has different sound effects. And the third button is a classic chomping action button. The color and texturing design is pretty similar to the older Carnotaurus figures. It's mostly that clay red orange color. It has some brown detailing throughout, and of course it's got the bright yellow eyes. Overall, this figure's pretty cool. I love the fact that there are different sound effects and different battle damage buttons. All right, let's set this next in line as the next largest carnivore figure. Over here, we've got the Scorpius Rex figure from Camp Cretaceous. And it has 2 action buttons on its back. The first operates the jaw with the sound effects. And the second button on its back activates the claws for a slashing action. That is pretty cool, and it is quite a large figure. And it is the next in size. For our next one, let's grab this classic Indoraptor figure. This is the grab and growl Indoraptor, and it is pretty hard to find online nowadays. I don't think they're making this one anymore. It's got 1 button on the top of its tail for the claw slashing action, and another button on the bottom of its tail for a jaw chomping action. All right, this figure is pretty awesome. So let's set this next in line as the next biggest. Over here, I've got another Carnotaurus figure, but this one is quite a bit older. I think this one came out for the second Jurassic World movie, which was Fallen Kingdom. As you can see, they're a slightly different red color, and this figure is a little bit smaller than that one as well. But it still has one button on its back for the chomping action. Very cool. All right, let's set this down. This next figure is really long, but it's actually a little bit shorter than the Carnotaurus figure, which is why it's next in line. This, I believe, was called the Ocean Protector Mosasaurus figure. You can move all of its fins, and its jaw opens and closes too. All right, let's keep going. Let's go with this Jurassic Park juvenile T-Rex figure. This figure is quite old. You can see the JP tattoo on its leg. It's got some battle damage on its side as well. Let's set this one down next in line. For the next figure, why don't we go with another old figure? This is from Jurassic Park 3, and I believe this dinosaur is a velociraptor. And it used to be battery operated, but sadly it doesn't work anymore. But it's still a really cool figure, so let's set this down next to the T-Rex. Up next for scary carnivores, we've got a Suchomimus figure. This version is the dark blue with the yellow spine, and it has one button on its back for the chomping action. And let's set this down next in line right here. For the next in size, let's see, I think we should go with the Sound Surge dinosaurs. This first one is the Giganotosaurus Sound Surge. Let's check out those sound effects. Very cool. Let's set this down next to the Suchomimus. The other Sound Surge dinosaur in this carnivore collection is the Sound Surge Tyrannosaurus Rex. Now let's hear the sound effects for this figure. And we're gonna set it down right next to the Sound Surge Giganotosaurus. Next up is this Rowdy Roars Carnotaurus figure. It is the classic clay red and orange coloring with the brown on top. It's got a little battle damage on its nose too. Compared to the Epic Attack figure, this one is a whole lot smaller and is a little bit brighter, and of course has much larger eyes. All right, let's set this down next to the T-Rex. The next in size is this Cryolophosaurus figure. This version has the dark blue body with the white and orange on the top. And this figure comes with sound effects, and when you move the tail, it controls the head. All right, let's set this down next to the Carnotaurus. Up next, we've got a Baryonyx figure. I think this one might be a Camp Cretaceous Baryonyx. And it's got the slide lever action on its back for different roars and sound effects. So let's set this up next in line. I've also got a custom Hammond Collection Spinosaurus figure. It has the red running along its back and on its face, and it's got the blue, brown, and red spine, which is actually pretty similar to this other custom colored Spinosaurus figure that I have in the front. So we're gonna set this one down next in line. Over here is the Hammond Collection Baryonyx figure. It's got pretty similar coloring as this Camp Cretaceous Baryonyx figure right here. It's even got a little bit of that reflective blue coloring on its face. And let's set this one down right at the very end right here. Next up is not a dinosaur, but is actually an Owen figure from Jurassic World. This figure has the classic brown vest with the blue shirt underneath. And we're running out of room at the end of the table, so I'm gonna start a new line right up here in front. For the next in size is this Dilophosaurus figure. I believe this Dilophosaurus came out for the first Jurassic World movie and is not made by Mattel, but actually I think it's made by Hasbro. And it even has an action that when you press down on its tail, it moves its neck up and down. Let's go ahead and grab this little Velociraptor blue figure. Now this figure is actually motorized, so when you press the top of its head, it comes with sound effects and chomping motions. And now we finally get to open this other new figure. This is the Epic Attack Dilophosaurus figure. Now it looks like this Dilophosaurus figure has one button on its side, and it looks like it is for the sound effects and light. And I think it actually comes with a few different sound effects too. Let's press it again. That's pretty cool. It's like a strobing light when you press it. It looks like its legs and arms are opposable, and you can open and close its mouth manually, but sadly you can't move the frills at all, so you can't bring them forward, which is a bit of a bummer if you ask me, but it is a pretty cool design. So let's set this Dilophosaurus down next to Velociraptor Blue. All right, we've only got a few small figures left. I've got 2 Atrociraptor figures right here. This first Atrociraptor is in the classic white and tan coloring, and this other Atrociraptor figure that I bought more recently is brighter colored. It's got some red on its arms, its neck, and its chin. And we're gonna set these 2 up next in line. Over here, I've got another Dilophosaurus figure, quite a bit smaller. They're both green and they have some yellow, orange, and red detailing along their frills. But this figure is actually pretty cool because you can press on the tail to activate its frills. That is really cool. Up next is another Velociraptor figure, but this is a slashing Velociraptor. That means that its torso is actually spring-loaded, so you can swing it side to side for a slashing action. And let's put this one right here. I've got another raptor over here. This one is a Pyroraptor figure from Jurassic World Dominion. It's got the feathers all over its body and the especially large feathers on the top of its head. And let's set this raptor down next in line. And now we're on to the really small figures over here. First up is a Baryonyx with the dark brown and blue coloring. And you can open and close its jaw too. Next up is a stalking Endoraptor figure with the gold stripe running down its side. Up next is a teeny tiny Mosasaurus figure. Look how small it is in comparison to this giant figure right there. But you can still open and close its mouth, which is pretty cool. And finally, I've got a tiny Pteranodon figure with some brown detailing on its wings, on its back, and on its horn.
This figure right here is the largest Dominion figure that I have. This is the Dreadnoughtus figure, and it is super long. It's probably 3 or 4 feet in length, but it still has some really cool features. You can even open and close the mouth and twist the head around too. So let's put this dinosaur on the very far left as the biggest dinosaur. Let's see, what super colossal figure is next? It's a tough call, but I think the Giganotosaurus might be the next largest. This figure is huge, has a classic green coloring, the awesome super sharp spine, and the really cool teeth. These are pretty unique. Let's set this super colossal Giganotosaurus down right next to the Dreadnoughtus figure. These are our 2 largest figures. Next up has got to be our super colossal T-Rex with the new brown and black coloring. You won't see this on older Jurassic World figurines. This one is super cool. Let's put this right next to our giant Giganotosaurus figure. Next is this awesome Atrociraptor figure. This one is the white with 2 different tones of brown striping along its back and sides. And unlike the other super colossal figures we've seen so far, the teeth are actually fully inside the mouth compared to the other figures we've seen so far where the teeth are on kind of like the outside of the mouth. All right, there we go. Let's move on to the next biggest, which is this tall Brachiosaurus figure from Jurassic World Dominion. Let me stand it up. Now this dinosaur is a lot taller than these other dinosaurs right here, but its body is a bit smaller and it's just shorter in size overall. So that's why I'm putting it over here. But it's got some pretty cool detailing, the blue coloring around its head. And next up in size is this giant Apatosaurus figure. Check out the size difference between this one and the Brachiosaurus over here. It's a little bit shorter, it's still standing on all 4 legs, and it has a really long neck but instead of going up super tall like that one, this one kind of sticks out forwards more. All right, now we're moving on to our slightly smaller figurines. We're gonna start with this T-Rex, which has the identical coloring as the super colossal figure right over there. This is a really cool T-Rex. I like the features on this one, and this one has a ginormous head compared to older Jurassic World T-Rexes. Right over here, we've got the Hammond Collection Tyrannosaurus Rex figure. This one has some really cool orange-brown coloring. It has a lot more detail than many of the other Jurassic World T-Rexes. It even has marbled eyes. Check out all that texture. And these figures are super posable too, which is an awesome feature. Next, we've got this Thrashing Giganotosaurus figure in the same coloring as the super colossal figure over here. They look pretty similar. This one's quite a bit smaller, although it's still probably around a foot in length from tail to head. So let's set this down right next to the T-Rex figure. All right, what do we go with next here? I think next is this Allosaurus figure. This figure is a little bit smaller than the T-Rexes and the Giganotosaurus figure here, but it is a lot larger than a lot of my other Allosaurus figures. Plus, it has a battle damage feature right on its side that you can open and close. Let's get this standing right next to the Giganotosaurus. The next up in size is the Therizinosaurus figurine, which was really cool in the Dominion movie. So we're gonna set this down right next to the Allosaurus figure. And check out those huge claws on its hand and the really long neck with the big face at the very top. We've got another herbivore dinosaur next in size here. This is the Stegosaurus with some pretty cool coloring. It's got the brown, some lighter tan, green, and then the clay red at the very top. All right, let's set it down next to the Therizinosaurus. Look at those spikes. They're a little bit taller than the Therizinosaurus, although if this was standing up all the way, it would definitely be a lot taller. Here is the Yangchuanosaurus figure. This, I don't think, was in the new Jurassic World Dominion movie, but it came out as part of the toy line. It's got some really cool coloring. It's got an action that lets you move the neck around in a lifelike way. And you know what? I think it is actually a little bit bigger than the Stegosaurus. So let's shift the Stegosaurus over and put this dinosaur right there. Next is a really interesting looking dinosaur. This is the Ankylosaurus. It's got the clay red coloring with the brown top, a super long neck, and it stands on 4 legs. Let's put this right next to the Stegosaurus figure. I can't quite tell which one is the next largest, but I'm gonna go with the Rajasaurus figure in the blue and gray coloring. And it's got that cool little spike right at the top of its head. Now let's set it right next to the Ankylosaurus. Let's see if it stands up. I think its legs are kind of broken, so that'll have to do. Here is the Sound Surge Giganotosaurus figure. Once again, it has pretty similar coloring as the super colossal figure right here, and this one comes with sound effects as well. It's pretty cool, so let's set this right next to the Rajasaurus figure. The next in size, I think, is this Pyroraptor figurine. This is the basic edition, but it still has the cool fiery red coloring and the black on its tail, on its legs, and a little bit on its head too. Let's set them down right here. And very close in size to the Pyroraptor is this basic Atrociraptor figure in the same coloring as the super colossal figure that we have back here. So let's go down all the way to the end and set them on the table. All right, now the figures are getting a little bit smaller. I think next up is the Megaraptor figure in the bright red and blue and a little bit of tan right along its face. And this figure is cool because it actually has an action when you press down on its back. It has a chomping action. Here is, I believe it's pronounced the Dryptosaurus. And a cool new feature that Mattel is putting on these toys is this little slide. It's like a thing that swings back and forth, and it actually swings their head back and forth and opens their mouth too, which is pretty cool. Now let's set it down right next to the Megaraptor. Next is the Hammond Collection Baryonyx figure. This one comes in the gray, dark blue with the yellow striping. And like all the Hammond Collection figures, is super posable and really cool. Let's put this down right at the end. Here we've got another Hammond Collection figurine. This is the Parasaurolophus. It's got some pretty bright coloring and of course is super posable and adjustable as well. Next is the bright Ichthyovenator. It looks kind of like a Spinosaurus because it has the big spine on its back and a long and narrow snout, but it has a super bright and much larger tail and is a lot smaller than a Spinosaurus, I think. So let's go ahead and put this down right next to the Parasaurolophus. Here we've got a huge Sinoceratops figurine with some bright yellow coloring around its all black eyes and the yellow coloring right on its tail as well. And like many of these other figures, it has the action that when you press down on its back, it lifts up its head. Let's see, next up in size is this Triceratops figure in the green and brown coloring. Let's put this at the very end. Oh, you know what? It looks like we're out of space at the very end though. So let's create a new row in the front, right up here. We've got another Triceratops figure next, but this one is from the Hammond collection. So compared to this other Triceratops figure right here, you can see that this one has a lot more detailing and differencing in the color, because this one basically has two different colors. This one kind of fades into all sorts of other different colors. And of course, is a lot more posable as well. Next up is the Iguanodon figurine in the tan and darker brown on top with the striping. Let's set down this Iguanodon right next to the Triceratops. Now we're down to the really small ones. So let's start with this brand new one that I bought. This is the Geniodectes Cirrus dinosaur. All right, this dinosaur is pretty brightly colored. It's got a dark gray body, but then it has this super bright coloring along its leg, its neck, its face, and the super bright red on top. And this is the Extreme Battle Damage edition, so you can click it open and closed with that button on the top. All right, let's put this Geniodectes down right next to the Iguanodon. We've got a few more Extreme Battle Damage dinosaurs right here that are the same size. This first one is a Velociraptor, and I've also gotten a Trosiraptor figure. And they both have that button on the top that activates the battle damage on both sides of its body. Let's set these down next in line. I've got a couple more Atrociraptor figures right here. These are the non-battle damage versions. I've got an orange one with the tan striping, and then of course the white with brown striping, just like the giant super colossal version. Let's get this first Atrociraptor down, and the second one. Here is another Pyroraptor. This is a pretty small figure, and this one actually has the extreme battle damage on the side as well. Check that out, it's pretty cool. It's got the same classic red and black coloring along its body. And let's set it down right next to the white Atrociraptor. This next figure, I believe, is called the Moros Intrepidus. It's got some pretty unique green and orange coloring. It's got the light green eyes, some pretty cool feathering and detailing all over its body. And let's set it down as the next smallest dinosaur. All right, now we're getting down to the real small dinosaurs. These are both Dimetrodons, and their spines make them look really tall, but actually their bodies are really short. This first brown Dimetrodon is a normal one, doesn't have any special features, so we'll put that next in line. But this other Dimetrodon actually has battle damage on the side, like many of these other small figures, which is pretty cool. So let's set that down right there. And here are our last two dinosaurs. We've got a Miragaia dinosaur with the huge spikes on the side, and we've also got a Therizinosaurus figure, which is really small, but still has the giant claws and the classic coloring. All right, let's set these down. Looks like we have just enough space.
Let's get started with this Scorpius Rex and this Seats Microrarum. This Scorpius Rex figure is quite a bit larger than many of the Jurassic World figures I have. It has these huge claws on its hands, comes with sound effects and the two action buttons on its back, plus those huge poisonous quills as well. And let's check out the Seahawks Rarum. It's got an orange body with some brighter coloring. It's got a bunch of spikes running along the top of its head, and you can use its tail to move its head back and forth and to chomp its jaw as well. Next up, we've got the giant T-Rex figure and an Endoraptor figure. This T-Rex figure is actually a bit older. It's got a rubbery neck and the rubbery tail. This figure has a huge chomping action. When you lift up its head, it roars, and then when you lift its tail, it chomps down with some sound effects too. And this Endoraptor figure is pretty awesome as well. It's a bit bigger than many of the Endoraptor figures I have, and it has a really cool feature where you can move the tail to twist its torso around, move its neck, and there's even buttons to control its arms and its jaw as well. And check it out, even its eyes light up too. Next up, we've got another T-Rex, but this one is a green color versus a Carnotaurus figure. The T-Rex is a bit bigger, and it has some cool black detailing right along the top. Plus, you can adjust the neck to look in all sorts of directions and use the button at the top of its head to open and close its jaw too. And the Carnotaurus over here, although it's a little bit smaller, it has some pretty awesome detailing as well. It comes in the dark brown color, it has the gray underbelly, and it has a tail that moves its head side to side and up and down, and opens and closes its jaws too. Next up, in Predator versus Predator, we've got a Suchomimus, and right over here we've got the Irritator. The Suchomimus is a little bit larger and it has blue and yellow coloring along its body. It's got a huge spine running down all the way down its tail, and it has an action button to chomp its really long and narrow snout. And let's check out this Irritator dinosaur as well, which actually looks somewhat similar as the Suchomimus. They've both got tall spines running along their back and long, narrow snouts too. You can open and close the mouth manually, and you can actually use the tail to move its head around too. Down here, we've got an Albertosaurus versus a Rajasaurus. The Albertosaurus here has some extreme battle damage on its side that you can close. See its ribs that you can open and close, and you can close its skin entirely. Plus, the rest of its body is very adjustable as well. You can even move the neck around to look in all different directions too. And the Rajasaurus is an entirely different color and a little bit smaller than the Albertosaurus. It's got dark blue and some white. It's got some huge spikes running along the top of its head, and it has an action that when you press down on its back, it chomps. Here we've got two T-Rexes from different eras of Jurassic World. This first one is more recent. It's from Jurassic World Dominion, and this is an older one. I think it's from Camp Cretaceous, actually. Comparing the size, I think the Camp Cretaceous one is a little bit larger. This one is really cool because you can use the tail to move the head up and down and open and close the jaw too. And the Jurassic World Dominion T-Rex, although a little bit smaller, has some really cool coloring. It's like a darker brown-orange color. Plus, it has the extreme battle damage right on the side that you can turn on and off with the click of a button. Here are some winged dinosaurs. This one right here is a Quetzalcoatlus, and this orange one is a Pteranodon. The Pteranodon is a lot more simple in color. It's mostly this brown-orange clay coloring. It has some yellow detailing on the wings, and you can open and close the mouth manually as well. The Quetzalcoatlus is a bit more of a sophisticated toy. You can actually fold the wings closed all the way, and there's action buttons on its back to flap the wings and to chomp its jaw as well. Plus, it's got some really cool coloring as well. And I think that the Quetzalcoatluses are much larger than Pteranodons in real life. We've got a huge dinosaur figure right here, and also a smaller one right on top of it. This huge one is a Mosasaurus, and this smaller one is a Sarcosuchus dinosaur. This huge Mosasaurus figure is an ocean dinosaur, so you'll see this in the water. I'm sure you recognize it from the first Jurassic World movie. And it's probably 2 or 3 feet long from the tip of its mouth all the way to the tail, and you can adjust all the fins and open and close its mouth. Now, this Sarcosuchus figure is a lot smaller, and it may not have lived entirely in the water, but I believe that these dinosaurs lived by the water and might have even hunted in it as well. It's got this super long and narrow snout, and it looks a lot like an alligator in a way. Looks like it has some armor plating all along its back too. And you can use the tail to open and close the jaw. Next up, why don't we open up this Jurassic World Dino Tractors? I believe it's pronounced Dryptosaurus or Dryptosaurus. It's looking pretty cool. Let's open it up. This Dryptosaurus figure is pretty cool, and it's around the same size as many of my Baryonyx figures. It's got some green that runs along from its arms, down its back, all the way to its tail, where it's got a ton of really interesting spikes, and it's got some dark brown from its feet that trails up all the way on its back, all the way to its head, where it has some dark blue right along its mouth as well. And let's see what else. You can move the arms up and down and outwards. You can twist the tail and move the legs too. There is the barcode scanner right there on its back that you can open and close. And it's got an action button right here on its back. It's a pretty small one, but you actually push it side to side and it rotates its head for different sound effects and for chomping too. And let's compare it against a Velociraptor from the Amber collection. This Velociraptor is bright green, it's got the striping along its back, and like many of the Amber collection figures, is super posable and adjustable as well. These figures are really cool. Next up is a Baryonyx versus a Cryolophosaurus figure. They're about the same size. I think the Cryolophosaurus is a little bit bigger and heavier. This dinosaur is pretty muscular. Look at those huge legs. It's got a huge torso as well, and it's got some really cool crown embellishment on the top of its head. And best of all, you can use the tail to move the head around in a really lifelike way. Let's compare that to the Baryonyx figure, a little bit thinner. It's probably a faster runner. It's got some smaller legs and arms. It's got a variety of different colors along its body, and it's got the slide lever action for different chomping movements. Here is a Ceratosaurus versus what I believe is a Yangchuanosaurus. They're about the same in size. I think the Ceratosaurus is a little bit bigger. The Yangchuanosaurus has a really long neck though. Let's check out the Ceratosaurus. It's got some different tones of brown. It's also got that bright red as usual, an action button on its back to open and close its jaw, and you can move its arms and its legs and its tail as well. The Yangchuanosaurus figure is totally different in color. It's green, yellow, and blue, and on this figure you can use the tail to move the head around. Sounds like the sound effects are a little bit broken though. This figure has even smaller front arms. I think those might be even smaller than a T-Rex's front arms, and definitely smaller than a Ceratosaurus's front arms as well. Over here we've got another Amber Collection Velociraptor figure versus a Baryonyx figure. The Baryonyx is a little bit larger than the Velociraptor figure. It has a longer neck and maybe a longer tail, I think. And it's got an action button on its back that you can use to open and close the jaw. Check out that super bright orange detailing right on the top of its head too. And it's got a long and a narrow snout. The Velociraptor, on the other hand, doesn't have quite as long of a mouth, and it's a bit more wide. Its eyes are a lot larger, and since this is from the Amber collection, it is very posable and adjustable too. Way more posable than that Baryonyx figure. This is a Carcharodontosaurus figure versus a smaller Indominus Rex figurine. Carcharodontosaurus is definitely a lot larger. It's got some bright yellow, orange, and brown coloring. It's got striping all the way down its neck and its back, and it's got a huge action button on its back for chomping. Look at that huge chomping action all the way down, and it's so fast you can hardly see it. This Indominus Rex figure is a bit older and a bit smaller. It's got the classic gray detailing with a bit more green gray coloring along the top, and this has some extreme battle damage on the side that you can open and close, which is really cool. And with this figure, you can move the legs and the arms, and you can use the tail to chomp the head. These are our last two dinosaurs of the bin. We've got another Ceratosaurus. This one is from the Hammond collection versus a huge Velociraptor blue figure. The Ceratosaurus figure is a lot bigger in size in terms of its torso. Look at this difference between this skinny Velociraptor and this huge Ceratosaurus figure. And since this is a basic Velociraptor blue figure, there's not a ton of detailing, and you can only move the arms and legs. But with the Ceratosaurus, since it's from the Hammond collection, has a lot more awesome detailing and coloring, and you can adjust the arms, the legs, the tail, and the head in all sorts of different poses. So this pack comes with Darius, comes with the Gallimimus, brown coloring, a little bit of yellow striping on top, comes with a baby, I think that's a baby Triceratops, plus it comes with a Velociraptor vocal resonator that Darius can use. That is really cool. There's a lot of pieces in this set. Next up, we've got the Kenji and Monolophosaurus set. Let's open it up. Here's Kenji. Fully adjustable with all the limbs. Here is the blue scooter that Kenji can ride on. And of course, here is the Monolophosaurus. This is a darker colored Monolophosaurus. It's got some lighter detailing along the top. That's totally cool. Next up, we've got the Brooklyn and Monolophosaurus. Let's open this up.
Bingo!
All right, here is Brooklyn riding on top of the blue scooter. And here is the light brown Monolophosaurus with gray detailing on the top. Also, its feet are gray too. That's interesting. These are some pretty cool sets. I like that they have multiple pieces in them. Next up, we've got a ginormous dinosaur figure. This is the super colossal Carnotaurus Toro. This figure is huge. It's wider than both of the dinosaur bins back here. All over its body is super textured. You can see that there's bumps and spikes all over. This Carnotaurus has a feeding feature. You can put miniature dinosaurs down its throat all the way to its stomach compartment right down here. And it's got the white underbelly, red side, and the brown top. Next up, we've got the super colossal Indominus Rex. This is the same size of that Carnotaurus that we just saw. And it also has super spiky and bumpy texturing all over its body. And just like the Carnotaurus, this Indominus Rex can also eat miniature dinosaurs. So you can have a little dinosaur here, feed it down the throat, and then you can take that miniature dinosaur out of the stomach compartment. Here is a huge Mosasaurus. This dinosaur lives in the ocean, and I bet you remember this from the first Jurassic World movie. Its body's pretty rubbery, so you can actually press into it and have some give. All in all, this is a pretty cool figure. Right back here, we've got a super awesome colored Tyrannosaurus Rex with camouflage coloring. Look at that bright green on the side, and then there's brown and black all over. Plus, there is a sound effect for stomping right on its foot. That's a pretty cool built-in feature. Here we've got another T-Rex. This one is normal colored though, with light brown on the sides, dark brown on the top. Here is another custom colored T-Rex. This one is super cool and super bright. It can move just like all the other T-Rex figures that I have, but check out this coloring. It's got the brightest red on the bottom, and then it darkens all the way to the striping and the black on the top. That is so cool. Right over here, we've got a giant Indominus Rex, though it's not as big as the super colossal one. This figure has two actions. It's got a slashing action, and then it's got a roar action. Here is another Indominus Rex. Can you tell anything different about this one though? That's right, this one has battle damage on the side. How cool is that? Other than the battle damage, this Indominus Rex looks just like the one we just saw. Over here, we've got a Tyrannosaurus Rex with a tearing action. Plus, it has a tail sweep action too. This is another Tyrannosaurus Rex, but this one has battle damage on the side, just like the Indominus Rex. Way over here, we've got a Spinosaurus with a light brown side, darker brown along the top, and that bright red spine, bright red face too. Over here, way in the back, we've got another T-Rex. The color of this T-Rex is a brown orangish color on the sides with a darker brown on the top and a lighter underbelly. Over here, we've got a Carnotaurus, way smaller than the Super Colossal, but still the same coloring. It's got those dark spots on its legs and on its side. Right up top here, I believe this is a Pentaceratops. Look at that, it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 main horns. And this Pentaceratops has 2 actions. The first is for roaring, and the second swivels its torso around. Here we've got another orange-brown Tyrannosaurus Rex, but this one has battle damage all over its body. Check that out. You can see the slashes from where it's been hurt in battle. Here is a darker T-Rex. It's built very similarly, but it's got the dark brown on the top, and then it's got a gray brown on the sides and a lighter underbelly. Here we've got a Mega Stegosaurus. Check out the actions on this one. Here is a dark green Triceratops with brown detailing on the top. Next up is a Cryolophosaurus. This dinosaur is dark blue with white and orange detailing all along the top. Here is our first winged dinosaur of this collection. This is a Pteranodon. It's got the dark blue underbelly and on the bottom of the wings, and a dark red and white along the top. Right over here is an Allosaurus. This one is super colorful with green, white, and red right along the neck. And it's got a slide action. Next up, we've got 2 matching Sarcophaguses. Both of them have the purple on the top with all those bumps and spines, and then orange and red and blue underbellies. Here is a dark blue Carcharodontosaurus with orange and brown detailing along the top. Plus, this dinosaur has an action button. Next up is another Carcharodontosaurus, but this one is a tan yellow color along its whole body, and it's got the orange and brown striping along the top. Here is a dangerous looking herbivore. This is a Kentrosaurus, and it's got some massive spikes along its body and right along its shoulders too. This dinosaur also has a slide action that twists its torso back and forth. Here is a nasty looking predator. This is a Tarbosaurus. It's got the bright red under the chin. The rest of its body is gray with darker gray striping along the top. This dinosaur is a Ceratosaurus. It's got a dark brown body with brighter orange detailing along the top and sides. It's got that orange horn right at the top. Here is another Ceratosaurus, but with different coloring. It's got the light gray on the underbelly and sides, with the darker detailing on the leg, and the bright red along its back all the way up to its head, with the white horn. This huge dinosaur is called a Pseudoceratops. check out the horns on the front right there. Those are bigger than a Triceratops, I think. This dinosaur right over here is an Ankylosaurus. This dinosaur is super protected, as you can see from all this armor on the top, and those spikes too. This is a really cool dinosaur. This is a Baryonyx, and look at that bright reflective blue right along the top of its head. And we've got some velociraptors in here too. Let's check out a few. This first one is a bright green velociraptor that's in the sneaking pose. This next velociraptor, it's got a tan underbelly and a brown top. And this one has a slashing action. And this velociraptor is bright yellow on the side with a lighter underbelly and a brown top. And it's got battle damage. Let's see what else we can find in here. Oh, we've got some Monolophosauruses. I've got 3 of them right here, all with different coloring. This first one is a bright green color with battle damage on the side and black striping on the top. This next one is a dark green color on the bottom and the sides with bright yellow on the top and a little bit of red right on its face. And this Monolophosaurus is it's almost a pinkish color on the sides with a darker color on the top and a little bit of yellow right on the top of its face. All right, here is another Carnotaurus. This is a darker color than the other ones that we have, and it's still fully adjustable, and it's got an action button on its back for chomping. Here's another Stegosaurus. This is a big dinosaur, and this has a tail sweeping action too. Coming right up is another Allosaurus with gray coloring on the bottom and the sides and yellow detailing along the top. Check out that face too. Here is a weird looking dinosaur. This is a Suchomimus. It's got blue on the bottom and the sides and yellow on the top. All right, another Baryonyx. This one also has bright blue along the top of its head, but it's not reflective, so it is a bit different. Plus, it's got this slide action too. We've got a massive Triceratops in the clay red color, and it's got an action button on the top for roaring. We've got some more armored dinosaurs right here. This big one is another Ankylosaurus, and it's got a slide action on the top to swing its tail. This little red one is called a Minmi, and it's got all those spikes all along the top of its body. And this small green dinosaur is a Sauropelta, the bright green underbelly and a darker green top. And those are some massive spikes on the side right there. Check that out. Let's check out a few more raptors in here. All right, I found 4 more raptors. First is a bright green velociraptor in the standing position. The second is Velociraptor Blue with the iconic blue stripe all the way down its body. This Velociraptor is a dark red color with purple on the sides and is in the standing position. And this final Velociraptor is blue on the sides, orange along the top, and gold right along its head. Here's a dangerous dinosaur. These both are Dilophosaurus, each with their own unique coloring. Look at those bright colors along the back of this one. Next up, we've got a few, I think these are Stygimolochs. Once again, they're both differently colored. This has a yellow-orange coloring along the top. This one is more of a green color with brown on the top and with red horns. Oh, I see another Velociraptor in here. I must have missed this one. This is like a dark brown, almost purple in the right light. And it's got some orange on the top and on its head. Here are two baby Brachiosauruses. One is a soft green color with dark green along the top, and the other is a dark gray color with like a purple red color on the top. Which one do you think would blend into the jungle more? This is a Protoceratops, I believe. It's got the soft green color on the side and yellow detailing along the top, all the way to the tail. Right back here, we've got a baby T-Rex. This one is bright green and has a chomping action too. Right over here, we've got two Gallimimuses. One is a soft tan color on the side with brown striping on the top, and it's got an action button. And the second Gallimimus is a bright orange with blue and red detailing on the top. Here's another scary looking dinosaur. This is a Herrerasaurus. It's got a blue-gray color on the sides and that white detailing along the top. Just a few more dinosaurs left in this first bin. This is a Shringosaurus. It's got a super long neck and a yellow and brown body. This next dinosaur is a Mosasaurus or Mosasaurus. I'm actually not sure how to pronounce it. This dinosaur is bright blue on the sides with the yellow underbelly and the black detailing along the top. Here we've got a dinosaur that looks kind of like a Stegosaurus, but it is a Chialingosaurus. Look at those little spikes on its shoulder. It's got all these other spikes right along its tail too. Next up is a Cosmoceratops. Look at how fancy the front of its face is. That is really cool. Here's another predator. This is a Masiakasaurus. It's got a dark red coloring along most of its body and all those yellow dots along the top of its body. And here's another Triceratops looking dinosaur, but this is actually a Styracosaurus. One bin down, one to go. Let's see what else we've got. Here is a Scorpius Rex, the dark body and two action buttons. This is a Stegosaurus with different coloring than the other ones we've seen. This is a light blue-green color over its whole body, and it gets darker along the top. Here's another winged dinosaur. This is a Quetzalcoatl. This is a huge dinosaur. This is an Albertosaurus with battle damage on the side. You can even move the ribs up and down. This is another Ceratosaurus. We've actually got two Ceratosauruses here. One is a dark green color with black detailing on the top. And the other is gray on the belly and got red and dark gray detailing on the top. This is an Ouranosaurus, and this has some pretty interesting colors on it. Most of its body is a dark green, but it's got some bright yellow, it's got some orange, and some bright blue right on the tip of its face. Here's another big dinosaur. This is a Sinoceratops. It's got a green body with tan detailing along the top and an action button for roaring. Way in the back here, we've got another predator. This is the Majungasaurus. It's got some bright coloring right along its neck and back. Here is another massive Stegosaurus with blue-gray coloring on the side and a darker gray on the top and like a pink underbelly. Here is a Triceratops. This one is brown with blue detailing right on the top. And I've actually got, I think, a few more Triceratops in here. It's a dark green one. And also a smaller Triceratops with battle damage on the side. Got some more super armored dinosaurs in the front. This is a Sauropelta. This one is red on the top and brown on the bottom. And this is an Ankylosaurus, red on the bottom and brown on the top. These dinosaurs like to headbutt. This is a Pachycephalosaurus with battle damage. I've actually got another one down here too that is purple colored and also has an action button with the tail for the headbutting. We've got a huge herbivore right here. This is a Parasaurolophus. Bright yellow with brown on the sides and 2 action buttons. Here's another huge winged dinosaur. This, I believe, is another Pteranodon. It's got the orange wings on the top and the bright yellow head. This dinosaur is huge. This is a Sinoceratops. It's got a green body with light tan detailing on the top. Got a few more Herrerasauruses in here. Here's the first. It's like a light green color with some darker colors on the top. And the other Herrerasaurus is a lighter green color with brown and red. And it's got battle damage on the side too. Next up, we've got a super spiky dinosaur. This is the Miragaia. Here's a dinosaur that lives in the water. This is a Plesiosaurus. Over here, we've got a baby Ankylosaurus. This one is called Bumpy. Next up is an herbivore called the Calavosaurus. It's got a dark blue side and the orange detailing on the top. Here is a smaller Pteranodon, and it's actually got some damage right there in its wing, as well as the battle damage right on the top of its body. This dinosaur is a Protoceratops with the purple side and the yellow detailing along the top. And last of all is a good old Stygimoloch. It's got an orange-red body with darker detailing along the top and the tail action for headbutting. Start out with this first giant one. This is from the Beast Wars, and this is the Megatron figure that is in a dinosaur form. One of the coolest parts is that it has a water cannon inside of its mouth that you can fill up. And now let's turn this Megatron into its second form. And there he is. For one arm, Megatron has the Tyrannosaurus Rex jaw that still has that water cannon on the inside. And for the other arm, he has this huge claw clamp type thing that you can open and close. That is pretty cool. Next, let's grab this huge one in the back. This is actually a Jurassic Park, and it has the Tyrannosaurus Rex and the Autobot JP93. First, let's check out the car. Now this looks pretty similar to the Jurassic Park cars. It's got the same iconic coloring and design all over. Of course, you can tell that it transforms into an Autobot. So let's go ahead and do that. And there is Autobot 93 in its activated form. You can still check out that Jurassic Park logo right on its chest and on the doors on the side. And now let's go for this T-Rex. This T-Rex actually feels pretty hefty. There's quite a bit of weight to it. It's got the classic orange coloring like many of my actual Jurassic World figures. You can open and close the mouth, you can move the arms, and all the things that you could with many of the other figures. But this one transforms, so let's see that happen. And there we are. Wow, that was quite the transformation. Looks like the interior of the body is red and black, and it's got a pretty evil looking face. And this figure actually features a claw that is actually the T-Rex's face for chomping, and this other crazy claw that used to be a tail. Next, let's open up this one. This, I believe, is another Megatron, but it is from Kingdom War for Cybertron, and it is part of the leader class. This Megatron figure was in his robot form when it came, so now we're gonna put it into the T-Rex form. But before we do that, let's check out the details. There's a lot of purple going on. Seems like a bit more detail than the one that we opened up earlier. But all right, let's turn this into a T-Rex. And there it is in the T-Rex form. It is absolutely crazy how intricate and detailed these are, because this looks pretty much like a real T-Rex. Next up, let's go with this Kingdom War for Cybertron Rhino X. And here is the figure. Looks like it's mostly green and brown. And of course, it is in its robot form, so now let's turn it into a rhinoceros. And here is Rhino X in its beast form. Almost all of the green is hidden, and it has the brown outside. And it's got those little red eyes and the huge horns too. It's pretty cool. Next up is the Tigatron figure from Kingdom War for Cybertron. Here is the Tigatron figure in its robot form. You can see the head right here, but also the tiger head right beneath that. And it's got some pretty cool coloring with the blue in certain spots, but most of its body is that white with black striping. So now let's get it into its tiger form. Got the tail here, and that just pops right on. And then finally, a turret underneath. All right, here it is in tiger form. That looks pretty cool. It's got the striping all over its body, but it still has a weapon accessible right on its belly too. Next up, we're gonna check out this Beast Wars Cheetor figure. So right now, it looks like it is in its cheetah form. And it's super bright, it's got spots all over its body. So let's turn it into its Transformer version. And in one hand goes one blaster, and looks like this weapon is actually a water gun too, so you could actually fill it up with water. And the second blaster for the other hand. And there it is, Maximal Cheetor in its robot form. For our next Transformers Beast figures, we're gonna go with this Beast Wars Rat Trap figure. I think this might be the smallest Transformer figure that we've seen so far, and it looks pretty close to like a real life rat. But now let's see it transform. And there is Rat Trap, all ready to go. This was probably the easiest transformation that we've seen so far. And check it out, it's even got some hidden weapons on its sides right there too. Next up is this Kingdom War for Cybertron Dinobot figure. And this Transformer came in its robot form. The craziest part is check out these hands. Those are some huge, scary looking hands. And it's quite posable, and it's a very lean looking Transformer. So now let's go ahead and transform it into the Dinosaur. What dinosaur do you think it'll be? And here we go. What dinosaur do you think this is? This sure looks a lot like a velociraptor to me, and you can still move its legs, its arms, you can open and close its jaw too. This next figure is another one from Kingdom War for Cybertron. This is Predacon Scorponok. Oh, this is another smaller figure again. So here it is in its robot form. Looks like it's got huge claws for both hands, and it has posable arms, legs, and a head too. Plus, it has this crazy tail coming out of its back. That's pretty wild looking. And now let's turn it into its beast form. And here we are in its scorpion form. It's still got the huge purple claws and the creepy crawly red legs, and best of all, this super massive stinging tail. Next up, we're gonna go with the Transformers Legacy Collection Predacon Tarantulas. This figure is very posable. You can bend it at its knees, its ankles, its arms. Check out all those creepy crawly legs right behind its arms. And now let's see it in its beast form. Here we go. It is now a creepy, crawly tarantula. It's got a lot of bright purple, yellow, and green on its body. And check it out, it's got the 8 eyes too. Better watch out for these pinchers. Over here, we've got the Shadow Panther from Kingdom War for Cybertron. Let's check it out. And here is the Shadow Panther in its robot form. It's got the mostly black body. It also has some yellow on its shoulders and the bright silver helmet on its face. But now let's see it turn into its beast form. And for the final touch, the tail. And here we go. Here is the Transformer in its beast form. It looks like a panther to me. Next up, we're gonna go with this smaller figure. We've seen this Transformer before. This is Rat Trap. And this figure is even smaller than the last Rat Trap that we saw from Beast Wars. Still, it is very posable. So now let's see it transform into its beast form. And once again, here is Rat Trap in its beast form. And this one looks even more like a real life rat, I think. Next up from Kingdom War for Cybertron is Ractonite. This Transformer looks like it's made out of a lot of bones. Check out that huge Triceratops skull on its shoulder. And now let's see it transform into its beast form. Here it is in its beast form as a skeleton Triceratops figure. And this one was actually assembled a bit different than all the other figures. This one you actually took apart and then reassembled, which I kind of like. Now we're getting to the smaller figures. This is another Kingdom War for Cybertron, and it is the Dracodon Transformer. This is quite a small figure, and it's got some bright coloring. Almost its entire body is a super bright neon green color. And it's got some gold in the center there too. Now let's see it transform into its beast form. And here we are. It is now in the, I think, a dragon form. Of course, it's got the all green body and its nails on its feet and its entire head are a gold color. This is a similar looking Transformer. This is the Vertebrake Transformer. Let's check it out. You know what? This is looking very similar other than the coloring. So let's change it to its beast form and see how it compares. And there we have it. And you know what? I think this is actually the exact same figure, just colored differently. It even transforms in the same way. But it still looks really cool, and I really like this darker version. And here we've got the Transformers Rise of the Beast Rhinox figure. Let's check it out. Here it is starting out in its beast form as a rhinoceros. You can really see that metallic texturing and detailing all over its body, which is really cool. But now let's see it transform into its robot form. And here we go. Here is the Transformer, and this one was quite easy to do. You can see even more machine detailing on its body, and it's got that gold on its chest and on its face too. Here's another small figure. This is the Studio Series Terrorcon Freezer. Now this is one crazy looking Transformer. Has some really cool rust detailing on its body, and one crazy looking head too. And now let's see it transform, and I think this one transforms into a turret. And here it is in its turret form. This is one massive looking turret. And for our final Transformer, we've got a duo pack. This is from Transformers Rise of the Beast, and it has Optimus Primal and Arrow Stripe. Let's first start by transforming Arrow Stripe. Here it is, and it looks like a bow and arrow, the weapon for Optimus Primal. And here is Optimus Primal in its Transformers form. So let's turn it into the gorilla form. But before we do that, why don't we go ahead and attach the weapon and check that out. All right, that is one massive looking bow and arrow. Let's turn Optimus Primal into the gorilla form. And there it is, easy as that. You can see that it now has the gorilla face and it has the gorilla feet as well. All right, let's get started opening these up. First with the Baryonyx Grim from Camp Cretaceous in the Primal Attack series. Let's open it up. Here we go, let's activate the batteries and let's check this out. So this is differently colored from the other Baryonyxes that I have. Comes with sound effects, that's so cool. And it's brown on the bottom, and then right next to its eyes, it's all red to really make those eyes pop out. Let's see what kind of actions these have. If you move the tail, let's see, you can get a chomping action, and you can also move it side to side for a slashing action too. This is pretty cool. This is about the same size as the other Baryonyxes I have, but I like this one. I really like the dinosaur figures that you can control the head from the tail, because it looks so much more realistic that way. That is super cool. Next up, we've got the, I believe it's pronounced Coeloris. I might be wrong, but it's from the Extreme Damage series. Let's open it up and check it out. All right, this is a pretty dark dinosaur. It's got that dark green body, a dark red. It's like almost a brown red color. You can move the arms, you can move the legs, and you can twist the tail. Right over here on top is the DNA barcode that you can scan to learn more about the dinosaur. And if you press the button right here, here comes the battle action. That is really cool. I really like these battle damage dinosaurs because it can change the whole look of the dinosaur with just a click of the button. And you can adjust its mouth too. Next up, we've got this dinosaur. It's kind of hard to tell what kind of dinosaur it is, so let's open it up and see. All right, it is a Therizinosaurus, and look how brightly colored it is too. Get this cardboard out. I bet you remember this dinosaur from the new Jurassic World movie, with those huge claws used for stabbing and slashing. And look at the coloring. It's got a nice blue color on the belly and chest, and on the back, from the tail all the way to the head, it is a super bright red. This might be one of the brightest dinosaurs that I have. And you can move the arms on this dinosaur, and I think the mouth too. Yep, there we go. Next up, from our brand new dinosaurs, we've got the Monolophosaurus from the Camp Cretaceous toy line. Let's open it up. So this is a smaller dinosaur, but it is super brightly colored with 2 different colors of green, just like the earlier dinosaur that we saw. So this is a bright green on the sides and then a dark green right on the top. And on the belly, it's like a tan color. And with this dinosaur, it's got a tail action as well. When you pull down the tail, it gives a chomping action. And you can move the legs and the arms, and that's about it on this dinosaur. But this is pretty cool. And next up from our brand new dinosaurs, we've got this chaotic cargo mini toy set. Let's open it up and see what dinosaurs are inside. I think that's pretty cool how they designed the box to look like a transport truck for the dinosaurs. Look at that, the whole thing, even the front. But let's check out these dinosaurs. First, we've got a minis version of Owen. Bingo! Look how small that is. But you can still adjust the arms and the legs. Next up, we've got this. I think this is the biggest dinosaur in the pack. This is a Stegosaurus, and it has the same coloring as the larger ones that I have actually, which we may see later on in this bin. Next up from the pack, we've got a special edition Allosaurus. And these are like pretty bendable too, which is interesting. Most of the larger toys are not very bendable like this. And you can even open and close the mouth too on this tiny little figure. And last of all, we've got this mini Velociraptor. And it looks like blue. That is so cool. Next up, we've got a giant Tyrannosaurus Rex with battle damage. Let's see that battle damage in action. That is super awesome. And all the joints are movable on this T-Rex as well. With the tail, the legs, even the ankles, the arms, and you can pose the head as well, which is really cool. Most of my T-Rexes can't keep their mouth open unless you're pressing the button. But this one you can fully pose. We've got another giant T-Rex. This one also with a posable neck, and it's got movable legs, arms, and a tail as well. And this one has a button on the top of its head that you can press to make it roar. Look at all those teeth too. And this one is darker colored. It's like a gray on the side and then the dark brown on top. Way in the back here, we've got a giant Indominus Rex. This is even larger than the T-Rexes that we just saw. This is a light gray color throughout most of the body. And it's got that darker coloring right along its eyes right there. And this has a few actions as well. It's got a slashing action with its arms, and it's got a button on its tail that you can press for the jaw. That is so cool. Right up front here, we've got a giant, I think this is a Brachiosaurus. Check out this huge body, it's mostly green. It's got a little bit of red on the sides right there. And then on the bottom, it's like an orange tan color. This Brachiosaurus doesn't have any movable parts, but it is pretty squishy and bendy. You can see I can bend its neck back and forth like that. Right up here, we've got one of the newest Tyrannosaurus Rexes from the Jurassic World Dominion series. Check out the size of the face on this T-Rex right here. This is huge, and it's much darker than a lot of the T-Rexes I have. Look at that, it's like a black color right on the top, and then on the sides a dark brown, and then on the belly it's like a light tan color. And the legs are movable, the ankles, the arms, and with the tail, which I really like, you can wiggle the tail and it moves his head back and forth. Plus it's got a button on the tail for the roaring. Right up front here, we've got a little Carnotaurus. This one's different from most of the figures that I have, but you can see that there's an action button on its tail for chomping, just like that. Plus a button on top, when you press that, it blinks its eyes. Not many of my other dinosaur figures can do that. And you can move the legs and also the tiny little arms as well. Those things are super tiny. All right, another giant T-Rex with different coloring than all the rest. This T-Rex actually comes with a face cage that you can put on. And then when you press this action button on its back, it'll break free from it. which is super cool. Plus, when you twist the tail of this T-Rex, it actually stomps its legs up and down. Up next, we've got a bright green Dilophosaurus with a bright red frills right on its face. Here is a Jurassic World quiz question for you. Who did the Dilophosauruses chase after in the new Jurassic World Dominion movie? Comment below. All right, here is the full-size Stegosaurus. We saw that teeny tiny little one earlier in the video. This is the full-sized one, and I think they actually have the same coloring too. With the brown on the sides, the light tan on the belly, and then those green tips. That's super cool. And this Stegosaurus has 2 action buttons. You can see when you press down here, it moves its face. And when you press down on, which one is it? Here it is. When you press down on this one, this tail swings back and forth. It's spring-loaded, which is super awesome. Right up here, we've got a medium-sized Tyrannosaurus Rex with different coloring than all the rest. You can see that this one has more black stripes that are vertical on it. And you can see on this dinosaur, compared to the other T-Rexes, there's a lot more texture on these. You can't move the legs or the arms on this T-Rex, but you can still open and close the mouth. Right over here, we've got a normal-sized Carnotaurus, still with the same bright red clay coloring and a gray bottom, and it gets darker to like a brown right along the top of its body. On this Carnotaurus, you can wiggle the tail to move its head back and forth and up and down and all that. Plus, there's an action button on its tail to chomp its mouth. Check this out. This is another Carnotaurus, but it has totally different coloring. The pattern on this Carnotaurus is really interesting. It's almost like diamonds on its side. And it's got that bright orange face. You can't close the mouth, unfortunately, or move the legs or the arms or the tail. But I just really like how different this Carnotaurus looks. The color on this one is totally wild. Right over here, we've got a short but super long dinosaur that looks kind of like an alligator, really. This is a Sarcophagus, and it has tons of teeth in its mouth. And the coloring on this is super wild too. It's like a dark purple on the top. It's got the orange and red specks right on the side, and then a blue-gray color on the rest of the side and all along the bottom. And with this Sarcophagus, when you wiggle the tail, it controls his face. How cool is that? Right over here is one of the scariest dinosaurs from the second Jurassic World movie. It is the Scorpius Rex. This dinosaur is super dark along most of its body, other than its belly, which is a bright yellow color. And this dinosaur has 2 actions. It's got the arm slashing action. Whoop, wrong button. The arm slashing action. And the chomping action too. Right here, this is a huge dinosaur. We saw this one earlier. This is another Therizinosaurus, but this is from the Jurassic World toy line. And as you can already hear, it has tons of sound effects. Let's see what actions it has. If you wiggle the tail, you can control its torso. And there's a button right here on its tail that when you press that, it's got that chomping action. How cool. And like the earlier Therizinosaurus that we saw, this one also has the bright red right along its top. Up next, we've got a large-sized Velociraptor, and I think it's Velociraptor Blue. You can move the arms of this Velociraptor, the legs, you can twist and adjust the tail, but the mouth does not open or close on this Velociraptor. But I still like this Velociraptor figure because it is larger than most of the other figures that I have. Most of the other figures are probably around this size, I'd say. So this one is actually giant in comparison. Right over here on the side, I believe this is from the John Hammond collection, and I think this is a Pteranodon. And this has super flexible wings. It's like all made out of rubber, so it's super bendy. And I do like the coloring on this as well. It's got that brown over most of its body, and then that yellow coloring right along its wings. That's super cool. And look at the intricacy of the coloring on its face as well. Up next, we've got this mighty Ankylosaurus with those spikes on the side and armor right on the top. You do not want to mess with this one in the wild. And it's got an action as well. There's a button to swing its tail back and forth with a super heavy end. I bet that would knock out some dinosaurs. Right on top here, we've got a smaller dinosaur, but don't be fooled. This, I believe, is a juvenile Giganotosaurus. It's got like this red purple coloring right along its face. And then on the top, it's got black with the white striping as well. You can't move the arms or legs of this figure, but you can open and close the jaw. Next up, we've got another Stegosaurus, but this one has entirely different coloring. This is a blue-gray color, and you can see that there's some even darker coloring right along the top. And on the belly, as usual, is a tan color. This Stegosaurus has only one action button. When you press right here, it wiggles its tail back and forth with those spikes. But on this one, you can just move the face. There's no action button to control it. Right over here, we've got another giant Velociraptor. This one is super adjustable, and it is a super bright green color. Look at the ways that you can adjust each limb. With the ankles, with the knees, with the elbows, everything is adjustable on this Velociraptor. Right over here, we've got another Baryonyx with totally different coloring. Unlike the brand new Baryonyx that we saw earlier in the video, this one has a gray body along the sides and the bottom, and on the top of the body is a dark blue color with like a little bit of white, and then right on the neck is a super bright blue color. And this Baryonyx has an entirely different action as well. When you slide this back and forth, it does chomping. Check this out. This is the Concavinator. And look at that bright red coloring right along its back right there. Plus, it's got the purple right there, and especially all over its head. This dinosaur is also fully adjustable. You can adjust the arms and the legs and the tail as well. Plus, it's got some action buttons. See, there's one right here. Let's see what happens. There's the chomping action. And when you press down on this huge hump on its back, it swings its tail back and forth too. Here is another giant Tyrannosaurus Rex figure. And just like many of the other models that we have, you can't move the arms or the legs. But look at the intricacy of the texture along its body. Look at all that different coloring from the dark brown to the light brown. There's even like a little bit of, it seems like orange or yellow in there too. And with this model, you can of course open and close its mouth and see all those giant teeth. Here we've got a model Spinosaurus with a huge bright red spine, and the red goes all the way down to the end of its tail. The rest of its body is like a dark gray color, and it's got the yellow belly as usual. And on this model Spinosaurus, you can open and close its jaw. Here is another huge and brightly colored dinosaur. This is the mighty Carcharodontosaurus. Did you know that these dinosaurs have teeth that are up to 8 inches long each? Those are some huge teeth. This dinosaur is a tan yellow color along most of its body, but right along the top we can see these bright orange stripes that go all the way up to the dinosaur's face, where the nose is also the bright orange color. And there's an action button on this dinosaur where you can chomp. Here we've got another miniature Carnotaurus. This one actually has a broken horn right on the top. Do you remember seeing that in the new Jurassic World Dominion movie? I know I do. This dinosaur is a dark green color along most of its body, and it's got the orange pattern right along the top of its body as well. And it is fully posable. You can move the arms, the legs, the neck, and the jaw as well. Right over here, oh, dropped one of them. These are both Pachycephalosauruses. They both have different coloring. They got orange on both of them, but this one is a green color, on its belly and side. And this one is kind of green, but it's more of a yellow green on its belly, and it's got those specks on the side as well. Plus, this figure actually has an action as well. When you pull on the tail, it has a hammering action. Oh, here's a different looking dinosaur. Look at those frills all along its neck. This is the Amargasaurus. This dinosaur is mostly brown along the sides and the bottom, but there's a lot of dark specks on the top. Plus, there's this bright red coloring all along its frills and its spine all the way to the bottom. And this dinosaur has some actions as well. First button moves its neck up and down, and the second button swings its tail. Here we've got a huge winged dinosaur. I remember seeing this one in the new Jurassic World Dominion movie. This is the Quetzalcoatlus. This dinosaur has some super bright coloring right next to its eyes and on the horn on its head and right along the tip of its beak. And the rest of its body is like a blue-gray color, except for its wings that are brown and a light tan. Plus there's an action button right up top. When you press it, it flaps its wings. We've still got some dinosaurs left. Here is the Rajasaurus with the brown coloring along its side and the dark blue right next to its neck and on those spines on its neck too. This Rajasaurus has an action. When you press down on the feet, it does a chomping action. That is super awesome. I think we've got some more velociraptors in here. Oh yeah, here's a few. And they're all super differently colored. This first one kind of looks like blue, but not quite. It has the blue stripe right there, and you can adjust the arms, and you can open and close the jaw. And notice, I think it has a little bit of feathers right on its elbow right there. That's super interesting. The next Velociraptor figure is a dark purple color with brown coloring on the top and along its head. How cool is that? And this last Velociraptor right here is tan and brown with a little bit of yellow specks. And this Velociraptor has an action as well. Its torso actually swings back and forth. It's spring-loaded, so it swings super fast. Let's see what other little dinosaurs we've got in here. All right, this first one is a baby Tyrannosaurus Rex, and it comes with a muzzle and a bandage as well. You can actually take the muzzle off, and you can open and close its mouth. This is a super bright green Tyrannosaurus Rex with that speckled striping along the top. This next figure is a teeny tiny Indominus Rex, but it's still pretty detailed. You can still see the texture of the skin, and it's got that brown coloring right along its spine right there. And this next dinosaur, I'm sure you recognize from the new Jurassic World movie. This is an Atrociraptor. It is mostly white, and it's got that brown stripes, kind of randomly all throughout its body. It's super cool and pretty scary looking. I think we've got a few more winged dinosaurs in here too. Let's check out this giant one first. This is actually another Quetzalcoatlus, but with entirely different coloring. See the purple that fades into like a dark maroon color, and the rest of its body is mostly this tan color. But like the other Quetzalcoatlus that we saw, it has super bright coloring on its face. Check that out. And of course, when you press this button right here, it'll flap its wings. How cool. This next winged dinosaur is a little one. This is a Dimorphodon. Most of its body and wings are this dark brown color, but you can see some orange stripes here on its head and on the bottom of its wings right here too. And this winged dinosaur is a Pteranodon with a dark blue color along most of its body and red detailing along the top. Plus, it has the battle damage right on its body right there. Next up, we've got this super weird looking dinosaur. This is the Tanystropheus. This dinosaur, I believe, resides in the ocean. And check out this super long neck. When you pull the tail, it swoops its neck down like that. That is super cool. And this is a bright dinosaur too. It's a bright blue color. Next up, we've got a dinosaur with some massive spikes. This is a Sauropelta, and it's bright red along the top and a dark brown along the bottom. And this dinosaur is actually spring-loaded, so you can twist the torso back and forth for that slashing action with its horns. Right up here, we've got a little Monolophosaurus figure. This dinosaur has a dark green coloring along the sides and bottom. It has that yellow coloring right along its back, and right on the front of its face, it's got that red coloring too. And with the tail, you can press up and down to open and close its mouth. We've got another super interesting colored dinosaur. This is the Protoceratops, and it's like a light purple color with the yellow striping pattern along the top of its body and along its face as well, right up front. Right up here, we've got a red Stygimoloch. This is a headbutting dinosaur, and when you pull the tail up and down, it has the headbutting action. How cool is that? Oh, I think we've got another baby T-Rex in here. This one is also a bright green color, and it actually has an action. When you pull the tail, you can control its jaw. Next up, we've got another dinosaur from the ocean. This is the Plesiosaurus. This dinosaur is mostly tan along its body, but it does have the dark blue coloring right along its back, all the way up to its face right here. And when you press the action button, you can actually make him move his fins. Next up, we've got this green colored Herrerasaurus, and it's actually got a little bit of blue along its top too, which is super interesting. This Herrerasaurus is fully adjustable. You can move the legs, the arms, the neck, and the jaw as well. So it is fully posable. Up next, we've got this bright green Dracorex. Look at how bright this dinosaur is. I think that is super cool. And look at that dark gray striping along its back. But don't forget those massive horns on its head. This Dracorex is fully adjustable. You can move the neck, you can move the arms, and the legs as well. But the jaw does not open and close, unfortunately. Here we have a teeny tiny little Gallimimus with 3 different colors on it. Got the orange tan color for most of its body, and then the blue and red striping all along its back, all the way up to its blue face. And our last dinosaur is another super scary looking Dilophosaurus. This dinosaur is mostly gray with darker gray specks along the top, and on those frills you've got that bright red coloring.
Want to see more dino videos? Click the subscribe button now.